We're in a strange time with the media where there's the mainstream media that nobody seems to trust, and now there's the online media, which is exploding, and it seems that nobody knows who to trust anymore. How do you decide who you trust?
Well, my trust comes from experience, which is a great way to do it. So I trust in the main, the CBSs, the NBCs, the ABCs. I trust CNN. I worked at CNN for 25 years. I don't buy these stories of plots at networks, or I don't trust Fox. I don't trust MSNBC. I don't regard them as really news networks, but they're more preaching to choir networks.
Yeah. So you think there's a distinct difference between the cable news guys and the traditional networks?
Oh, absolutely. News. CNN does try to report fairly. CNN is in a difficult position because there's so much today is soapbox stuff. Mm-hmm. So they've got Fox on the right and MSNBC on the left, and CNN straddles it, so they're carrying a lot of documentary. I don't know where they are.
Yeah.
You know, but I respect them.
Yeah.
The mainstream, I still trust the mainstream medium. I think, though, that a lot, like tea parties and the like, have made you try to distrust the mainstream media. But I have never seen, I've been in the business 58 years. I keep telling this to people who come over to me, they tell me CNN hates Israel, or this guy. I have never been in a meeting where someone said, let's go get somebody.
Right.
Let's angle the story this way. Let's twist it. I have never seen that.
So at the end of the day, is it really just about what people will watch more than an agenda? Because that's what I see all the time. People comment, especially online, you get a lot of the conspiracy people, and they say, oh, this one has this agenda, or this one's owned by this one or that. But to me, it always comes down to what people will watch and click. So if there's a riot, they're going to cover a riet more than they would be inclined to cover a rally for peace, right? Because it's just just what people will turn on.
Well, news is, well, first, personally, I never had an agenda. I never went on the air to hurt someone or to boost someone. I just try to ask good questions and listen to them.
You're not boosting me right now?
No, well, you're interviewing me.
Oh, right.
So you forgot where you are, David. I've never had an agenda. I trust the New York. I know print media is in trouble. I trust the New York Times. I think it's the greatest newspaper I've ever read, and every day it gets better. And I've never seen a paper that introduces me and opens up doors to me better than the New York Times. And the New York Times, frankly, and in some cases the Washington Post, the LA Times, but mainly the New York Times. Television networks follow the New York Times. It's based, a lot of what they cover is what the New York Times is showing them what to cover.
Sure.
I have great respect for the New York Times.
So the cable news part of it, this hyper-partisan thing that we see all the time, where Fox is obviously to the right. Some people say they're not even to the right, they're just a sort of offshoot of the Republican Party. MSNBC is giving you Democrat talking points, CNN, as you said, somewhere in between. What do you make of this idea that it's constantly two people screaming at each other?
Well, it's not my kind of broadcasting.
Yeah.
The problem with those shows, to me, is I don't learn anything.
Yeah.
You know, to me, when I watch a show, I want to know more than I knew before I watched the show. In these screaming shows, I see screaming, but I don't know more. I don't see many good interviewers.
Yeah.
I see the host on. If you turn on a TV show on a regular basis and the host is on more than the guest, that's a bad show.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
And yet people seem to want screaming.
Well, because
that's
they like
it.
Right? What's like you mentioned, if there's a riot in the streets and a peaceful protest, you're going to cover the riot. For example, I'll tell you a newscast that wouldn't do well. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Every school in America today experienced no problems. There were no guns at any school today, and there were no hit-and-run accidents in major cities.
Yeah. You're
tuning off.
You're not going to watch that.
Right. So news is that which is not the ordinary.
Yeah. So then wrapping up this topic, how do you feel about being, you obviously came from the mainstream, and what you do now, you're still talking to mainstream people, but it's in the digital space. How do you like being in this sort of next step?
To me, I'm doing what I've always done. Since 1957, when I broke in, I've asked questions, listened to answers, try to follow up. I'm being distributed differently. I was distributed first on a local station.
Yeah.
Then I had a national radio show. Then satellites. And then there was CNN, it was worldwide. and now the internet. But I'm doing the same thing. There's this, what we're doing now.
Yeah.
Could have been a radio show in 1935.
Yeah. One day we're going to be doing this on Snapchat. That'll be it. It'll be 2 seconds long.